The alert came at exactly 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Deep in the quiet halls of the Global Defense Force headquarters, a monitor blinked red, catching the tired eyes of night operator Bill Foster. He blinked twice, making sure he wasn't seeing things during his late shift. The signal was coming from the Kuiper Belt Monitoring Station, one of hundreds of sensors humanity had scattered throughout the solar system. But this wasn't the usual space debris or comet notification. The pattern was too regular, too precise. "Command, this is Monitor Station 7. Bill said into his headset, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I'm picking up unusual readings from Sector K9. Request verification." Within minutes, Commander Jack Stone walked into the monitoring room, his gray uniform crisp despite the early hour. He was known throughout the GDF for his calm demeanor, but even he couldn't hide his interest as he looked at the readings. "Show me everything," he ordered, pulling up a chair next to Bill. The data streamed across their screens, telling an impossible story. What they first thought was space debris was actually moving against the solar wind, making small but deliberate course corrections. Natural objects didn't do that. Commander Stone pressed a button on his console. "Get me Dr. Anna Ward from the Science Division. Now." An hour later, the small monitoring room had transformed into an impromptu command center. Dr. Ward, her white lab coat wrinkled from sleep, stared at the sensor data with wide eyes. "This material," she mumbled, mostly to herself, "the way it bends light around it. This isn't random debris. This is technology, advanced technology. Alien." Commander Stone asked directly. "What else could it be?" She looked up at him. "We found their garbage, Commander. Or more accurately, their garbage found us." Teams worked around the clock for the next 3 days. More pieces were discovered, all following similar patterns. Some were no bigger than a coffee cup, others as large as a small car. Each piece had the same strange properties. They absorbed radar, bent light, and moved with purpose. The breakthrough came on the 4th day. One of the larger pieces malfunctioned, its stealth systems failing. Within hours, a GDF recovery team brought it to the Lunar Science Station. Dr. Ward's hands shook as she examined the artifact. "This isn't just advanced technology," she said, pointing to markings along its surface. "These are maintenance dates. This thing has been up there for over 200 years, watching us." Commander Stone felt a chill run down his spine. "How many more do you think are out there?" "Based on our initial scans." She pulled up a holographic map of the solar system. Red dots began appearing, first a few, then dozens, then hundreds. They're everywhere. A network of monitoring stations, hidden in plain sight. We were never alone. We just couldn't see them. The implications hit hard. Every space mission, every satellite launch, every military test, they had all been watched. Humanity's every move had been observed and recorded by unknown watchers. In the following days, more pieces were recovered. Each told the same story. Earth had been under surveillance for centuries, but something had changed. The stealth systems were failing, almost like they were breaking down all at once. "It doesn't make sense," Dr. Ward said during one late-night briefing. "This technology is incredibly advanced. Why would it all start failing now?" Commander Stone looked at the latest sensor data, a theory forming in his mind. "What if it's not failing?" he asked. "What if we're just finally able to see it?" The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't suddenly stumbled upon alien surveillance. They had evolved enough to detect it. As Commander Stone stared at the growing map of alien devices around Earth, he couldn't help but smile. They've been watching us all this time, thinking we were blind to their presence. But now, he turned to face the room full of Earth's finest minds. Now we can see them, and I don't think they were ready for that. The first piece of the puzzle was in place. Humanity had made its first step onto a much larger stage, and there was no turning back. The watchers in the dark were about to learn that their subjects had outgrown their cage. In the 2 weeks since the discovery of alien surveillance devices, The Global Defense Force headquarters had transformed into a hive of activity. Teams of scientists worked around the clock, studying every piece of recovered technology. But it was the communications division that made the breakthrough. "You need to see this," said Ted Wilson, head of signal analysis. He led Admiral Mary Wells through rows of humming computers to his workstation. "We've cracked their communication methods." Admiral Wells, her silver hair tied back in a neat bun, leaned forward to study the screens. "Show me." Ted pulled up a series of complex patterns. The devices weren't just watching us. They were talking to each other, and to someone else, far beyond our solar system. He played a decoded message. The computer translated it into text. "Commentate and an ent orotocos active. Human development proceeding within acceptable parameters." Admiral Wells's face hardened. "Containment protocols." "There's more," Ted said, his voice grim. "Look at this one from 3 days ago. ALERT. Surveillance. DETTTON. Risque and EASing. Request GUIDNC on enhanced containment MEASURES. The implications were clear. Earth wasn't just being watched, it was being contained. Admiral Wells immediately called an emergency meeting of the Global Council. Representatives from every major nation gathered in the underground chamber beneath Geneva. The mood was tense as she presented the findings. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady, "we now know the truth. There is a galactic community out there, and they've deliberately kept us in the dark. They see us as a threat to be controlled." The chamber erupted in angry whispers. The Chinese representative stood first. "What do you propose we do?" Admiral Wells smiled. "We send them a message, one they can't ignore." The debate lasted hours. Some argued for caution, others for immediate action. In the end, Wells's plan won out. If the aliens wanted to watch, they'd give them something to see. Over the next 3 days, Earth's military forces began a coordinated operation. They systematically disabled or captured every alien monitoring device they could find. But they didn't destroy them. Instead, they modified them. Back at GDF headquarters, Commander Stone watched the operation unfold. "Are you sure about this?" he asked Wells. She nodded. "They think they're so far ahead of us that we couldn't possibly understand their technology. That's their weakness." The modified devices were reactivated one by one. Each now carried Earth's message, broadcast on the aliens' own communication channels. "To the galactic community that has watched us from the shadows, we see you. We know you're there. Your containment has failed. Humanity has grown beyond your expectations, and we will not be controlled. You have 2 choices: meet with us as equals, or continue hiding while we dismantle every piece of your surveillance network. The choice is yours. We're ready, and we're waiting." The message went out in every human language, along with mathematical proofs of their understanding of advanced physics, a clear demonstration that they could not only detect the alien technology, but comprehend it. In the tense hours that followed, Earth's military remained on high alert. Early warning systems watched for any sign of hostile response. But Admiral Wells wasn't worried. "If they were going to attack us," she told the Council, "they would have done it centuries ago. They contained us because they fear us. Now they have to face that fear." The response came exactly 26 hours after Earth's message. Every functional communication device on the planet received it simultaneously. The alien transmission was brief. Diplomatic DELGHLON en route. Maintain orbit. Attempts to DNI into be considered hostile action. Commander Stone read the message twice. They're not used to their subjects talking back, are they? Admiral Wells allowed herself a small smile. No, they're not. And that's exactly why we'll win this. They expect us to either cower in fear or react with blind aggression. Instead, We'll show them something they've never seen before. She looked out the window at the night sky, knowing that somewhere up there, alien ships were already heading toward Earth. We'll show them humanity's true strength, our ability to be both powerful and wise at the same time. The stage was set. Earth's first official contact with alien life would not be as supplicants or savages, but as equals demanding respect. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had outgrown its cradle. The alien ships appeared at dawn. They didn't burst through the atmosphere or arrive with dramatic flashes of light. Instead, they simply appeared, their stealth systems dropping to reveal 5 massive vessels in Earth's orbit. From the Global Defense Force Command Center, Admiral Wells watched the ships through enhanced satellite imagery. Their designs were sleek and curved, unlike anything humans had built. Each ship was easily the size of a small city. Multiple contacts dropping stealth across the system, reported Bill Foster from his monitoring station. They're everywhere. Mars orbit, Jupiter's moons, the asteroid belt. Dozens of ships. Commander Stone stood beside Admiral Wells. They're showing us their real numbers, trying to intimidate us. No, Wells said, studying the formations. They're showing us what they could have done at any time but didn't. This is their way of starting negotiations. The first transmission from the alien fleet came an hour later. A holographic image appeared in the UN General Assembly Hall, where Earth's leaders had gathered. The alien delegate was tall and humanoid, but with silvery skin that seemed to shift like liquid metal. "I am Delegate First Class of the Galactic Council," it said in perfect English. "You have forced this meeting before your species was deemed ready. This violation of protocol must be addressed." Admiral Wells stepped forward as Earth's chosen representative. "With respect, Delegate, we decided we were ready." "That's not your choice to make." The alien's skin rippled, perhaps showing emotion. "You do not understand. The containment protocols were for your protection. Many young species destroy themselves upon learning of the wider galaxy. We were preserving you. By watching us. By hiding the truth." Wells kept her voice calm but firm. "That's not protection. That's control. Your species has shown concerning aggressive tendencies." The delegate responded. "Your development must be properly guided." The hall erupted in protest, but Wells raised her hand for silence. "Let me show you something," she said. With a gesture, she activated the room's display systems. Images appeared showing Earth's history, wars and conflicts, yes, but also peace treaties, humanitarian aid, international cooperation. "We've fought each other." "True," Wells acknowledged. "But we've also learned to work together. When the tsunamis came, nations sent aid. When diseases spread, we shared research. When asteroids threatened, we built planetary defenses together." She stepped closer to the hologram. "Yes, we can be aggressive, but we're also capable of incredible cooperation and compassion. You've been so focused on containing our potential for violence that you missed our potential for good." The delegate was silent for a long moment. "Nevertheless, protocols must be followed. We propose a gradual integration program, under our supervision, of course." "No," Wells said firmly. "That time has passed. We're not asking for permission to join your community. We're informing you that we have already joined it." The alien's form shimmered with what might have been agitation. "You do not have the authority." "We don't need authority," Wells interrupted. "We've already detected your surveillance. We've already adapted your technology. We've already begun exploring the galaxy in our own way. You can either work with us as equals, or watch us continue to advance without your help." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the hall. On the screens, new signals appeared. Alien ships dropping out of stealth all through the solar system. "More ships," Commander Stone reported. "Much more." The delegate's voice carried a note of satisfaction. "Perhaps now you understand your position better. Your species is still young. You need guidance, protection, control." Admiral Wells smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Delegate, I don't think you understand. Those alarms aren't because we're afraid of your ships. They're because our defense grid just activated automatically in response to potential threats." She nodded to Commander Stone, who pressed a button. Around every alien ship, small devices became visible, Earth's own stealth technology, placed during the weeks of preparation. "You're not the only ones who can hide things in plain sight," Wells said. "Now shall we discuss real cooperation? As equals." The delegate's surface swirled with complex patterns. For the first time, its voice carried a tone of uncertainty. "You have surrounded our ships." "Just a precaution," Wells assured them. "After all, we learned from the best about keeping watch over potentially aggressive visitors." The message was clear. Humanity wouldn't be controlled, couldn't be intimidated, and had already prepared for this moment. The real negotiations could finally begin. While diplomatic talks continued in public, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Professor Tom Walker made a discovery that changed everything. His team had been studying the alien technology nonstop, and what they found in the data storage systems told a much darker story. "Admiral Wells needs to see this immediately," he said, his hands shaking as he compiled the evidence. Within hours, the Admiral stood in his underground lab, watching as holographic displays showed centuries of alien interference in human affairs. "They didn't just watch us," Walker explained, pointing to specific data entries. "They actively interfered. Look here, subtle manipulations of our global economy, engineered conflicts, even weather pattern changes, all designed to keep us busy fighting each other." Admiral Wells's face grew darker with each new revelation. "How far back does this go?" "At least 300 years, Walker said. "Every major conflict, every economic crisis, they had a hand in all of it. They wanted us divided, weakened." Meanwhile, in orbit, Commander Stone noticed something odd about the alien ships. Their positions had been slowly changing, forming a pattern that military strategists would recognize, if they were looking for it. He requested an urgent private channel to Admiral Wells. "Ma'am, they're positioning for a full orbital blockade." "Slowly, hoping we won't notice." Wells looked at the tactical display, connecting the dots between Walker's discovery and Stone's observation. "They're not here to negotiate. They're here to maintain control." She called an emergency meeting with Earth's military leadership. In a secure bunker deep underground, she laid out what they'd learned. "The public talks are a sham," she explained. "While their diplomat keeps us busy with discussions about gradual integration, their fleet is positioning to cut off our access to space. But they've made one crucial mistake." She pulled up an image of an alien device recovered decades ago, long before their official discovery. "We've known about them for much longer than they realize, and we've been preparing." The room was silent as she revealed humanity's greatest secret. The world's space programs hadn't just been about exploration or satellites. They were cover for a massive defense initiative, hidden in plain sight. Every rocket launch, every satellite deployment, every space station module, Wells continued, carried pieces of our response. "We've been building a defensive grid for 50 years, disguised as normal space development." Commander Stone joined in via hologram from orbit. "That's why we let them think their stealth technology had failed naturally. We needed them to believe we were just now discovering their presence." "But why reveal ourselves at all?" someone asked. Admiral Wells smiled. "Because their containment was about to fail anyway. Our technology was advancing too quickly. They were planning to intervene directly, this time with enough force to set us back centuries." Professor Walker added his findings. "The data shows they were preparing for a major operation, some kind of engineered global catastrophe that would have devastated our infrastructure and technology. Instead," Wells said, "we forced their hand, made them reveal themselves on our terms when we were ready." A junior officer raised his hand. "What about the diplomatic talks?" "We keep talking," Wells replied. "We stay peaceful, cooperative, reasonable. Let them think their intimidation is working. Meanwhile, She activated another display, showing hundreds of small dots scattered throughout the solar system. Our real defense grid stays hidden. If they try to force their control on us, they'll learn exactly how prepared we are. Commander Stone's hologram nodded. Their ships are powerful, but they're also predictable. They haven't fought a real war in thousands of years. They've forgotten how to think tactically. And we, Wells added, have been thinking about nothing else for the past 50 years. As the meeting ended, Admiral Wells looked at the tactical displays showing both the alien ships and Earth's hidden defenses. The aliens thought they were dealing with a young, naive species that had just stumbled onto the galactic stage. They were about to learn that humanity had been rehearsing for this performance for a very long time. The only question was whether they would figure it out before it was too late to change their plans. The time for pretense was over. Admiral Wells stood before the alien delegation in the UN chamber, her face showing no emotion as she prepared to reveal humanity's true strength. Honored delegate, she began, you've shared your concerns about humanity's aggressive tendencies. Now let us share something with you. With a simple hand gesture, she activated the chamber's holographic systems. The air filled with images of technological achievements the aliens had never seen or thought possible for humans. 300 years ago, Wells continued, we found one of your crashed ships. You thought you cleaned up every trace, but you missed a piece. That single piece of technology taught us more than a century of your careful manipulation ever could. The delegate's silvery skin rippled with obvious distress. Impossible. Our sensors would have detected. Would they? Wells pressed a button, and suddenly new ships appeared in orbit around Earth. Human ships, previously hidden by technology more advanced than anything the aliens possessed. Commander Stone's voice came through the chamber speakers. All defense grid units now visible, Admiral. As ordered. The alien representatives watched in shock as hundreds of human vessels shimmered into view throughout the solar system. Each one had been there all along, hidden by technology that surpassed their own. How? The delegate demanded. Your species shouldn't be capable of surpassing you. Professor Walker stepped forward, carrying what looked like a simple metal cube. We learned something you forgot long ago. True advancement doesn't come from having technology. It comes from understanding it. He placed the cube on the floor. It floated upward, unfolding into a complex three-dimensional display of human technological progress. We didn't just copy your technology. We improved it. While you were watching us fight wars you helped create, we were quietly solving problems you never even considered. The display showed human innovations, quantum shielding more efficient than alien designs, energy systems that defied their understanding of physics, and stealth technology that had hidden humanity's true progress for decades. Your containment protocols, Admiral Wells said, were based on the assumption that we would develop along the same paths you did. That was your mistake. By trying to control us, you forced us to think differently, to find new solutions. Commander Stone's ships performed a coordinated maneuver, smoothly sliding between the alien vessels in a display of precision that left the visitors speechless. Every satellite launch you monitored. Many carried real satellites, yes, but they also carried pieces of our defense network. Every space station module, part of a larger plan. Even our seeming mistakes and failed missions served a purpose, to keep you underestimating us. The delegate's form had become almost completely still, a sign of severe distress in their species. This changes the balance of power. No, Wells corrected. This reveals the true balance of power. We're not showing you these things to threaten you. We're showing you because it's time for honest dialogue between equals. She gestured, and the defensive grid powered down to minimal levels. We could have revealed this during our first meeting. We could have taken hostile action when we learned of your interference in our development. Instead, we're choosing another path. Professor Walker stepped forward again. We're offering to share our innovations with the Galactic Council, not as subjects seeking approval, but as partners with something valuable to contribute. The alien representatives huddled together, their communication taking place through rapid color changes in their skin. Finally, the delegate turned back to face Wells. "Your species continues to surprise us," they admitted. Perhaps there is much we could learn from each other." Admiral Wells smiled, this time genuinely. "That's all we ever wanted. A chance to join the galactic community as equals, not as controlled subjects." As the aliens began to truly grasp humanity's level of advancement, the mood in the chamber shifted from tension to cautious optimism. Earth hadn't just caught up with galactic civilization. In many ways, they had surpassed it. The real question now was whether the Galactic Council could adapt to this new reality as quickly as humanity had adapted to theirs. The Galactic Council's full assembly looked very different from the small delegation that had first contacted Earth. Thousands of alien representatives gathered in their massive space station at the edge of the solar system. They had come to hear humanity's terms. Admiral Wells stood on the speaking platform, her uniform pristine, her posture straight and confident. Behind her, Earth shone like a blue jewel in the distance. Commander Stone and Professor Walker flanked her sides, representing humanity's military and scientific strength. "Members of the Galactic Council," Wells began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. "For centuries, you watched us. You judged us. You tried to control us. Today that ends." She activated a holographic display that filled the entire chamber. It showed a complete map of human space defenses, far more extensive than what they had revealed earlier. "This is our home system," she continued. "Every dot you see is a defensive platform. Every line represents a quantum barrier. We don't just control Earth. We control every approach to our solar system." Murmurs spread through the alien gathering. One representative, tall and crystalline in form, spoke up. "Such defenses are excessive for a young species." "Are they?" Wells asked. "When that same young species discovers that advanced civilizations have been manipulating their development for centuries." She pressed another button. The display changed, showing evidence of alien interference throughout human history. "We found it all," Professor Walker added. "Every hidden device, every manipulated event, every artificial disaster created to keep us fighting among ourselves. We found it, we understood it, and we planned accordingly." Commander Stone stepped forward. "Your containment protocols weren't just wrong. They were dangerous. By trying to keep humanity weak, you forced us to become stronger than you ever imagined." The display shifted again, showing new technology that made many alien representatives shift uncomfortably in their seats. "Our quantum detection grid doesn't just spot your ships," Wells explained. "It can disable their stealth systems instantly. Our barrier technology doesn't just defend. It can cut off your faster-than-light travel corridors. We can isolate our entire system from the rest of the galaxy if we choose." The crystalline representative's voice carried a note of alarm. "These capabilities exceed allowed development parameters for your species level." "That's exactly the kind of thinking that brought us here," Wells replied firmly. "You don't get to decide our parameters anymore. No one does." She pressed a final button. The chamber's displays showed a new image. Hundreds of human ships, suddenly appearing from stealth mode near major alien worlds and installations throughout nearby space. "Yes," Wells confirmed, answering their unspoken question. "We're already out there. We've been out there for years. While you thought you were containing us, we were studying you, learning your weaknesses, preparing for this moment." The chamber erupted in chaos. Wells waited patiently for quiet to return. "But this isn't a threat," she continued once the noise died down. "This is an opportunity. Humanity doesn't want war. We don't want revenge. What we want is simple: respect, equality, and the freedom to develop without interference." Professor Walker stepped forward, holding up a data crystal. "We're prepared to share our advances with the Council. Our quantum technologies, our energy systems, our stealth innovations, all of it. Not as subjects seeking approval, but as equals offering partnership." "And if we refuse?" asked another representative. Commander Stone smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. Then we'll continue developing on our own. But be aware, any future attempt to contain, control, or interfere with Earth will be met with immediate and decisive response. Admiral Wells raised her hand for attention. The choice is yours. Accept humanity as equals, with all the benefits that brings, or watch us become what you feared most. A truly independent power that doesn't need your approval to thrive. The chamber fell silent as the Council faced its moment of decision. The old order of controlled species and careful manipulation was ending. Something new was beginning, and humanity was done waiting for permission to take its place among the stars. 1 year after humanity's ultimatum to the Galactic Council, Earth had changed more than anyone could have imagined. The morning sky over New York now held the shapes of both human and alien ships, moving peacefully through designated flight paths. Admiral Wells stood at her office window in the new Earth Embassy to Galactic Affairs, watching the traffic above. Commander Stone entered, carrying reports on data tablets. The latest numbers from the exchange program, he said, placing them on her desk. 10,000 human scientists working on alien worlds, and just as many of their researchers studying at our facilities. Wells nodded, a small smile on her face. And no incidents. A few cultural misunderstandings, but nothing serious. Turns out we're better at peaceful cooperation than they expected. Professor Walker joined them, looking excited as always these days. You need to see this, he said, activating the room's holographic display. The combined human-alien research team just made a breakthrough in quantum physics. We're seeing principles that neither civilization understood on their own. The display showed complex equations and models that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Human creativity combined with alien experience was opening new frontiers in science. The council representatives are waiting, a young aide reminded them from the doorway. The 3 leaders made their way to the conference room, where alien delegates from a dozen worlds sat around a large table. The main delegate, their silver skin now displaying peaceful patterns, stood to greet them. Earth's representatives, they said warmly. We have news from the Council's latest session. Admiral Wells took her seat. Good news, I hope. The Council has officially recognized Earth as a protected systems guardian, the delegate announced. You will have authority to oversee the development of younger civilizations in this sector of space. Commander Stone raised an eyebrow. Interesting choice, given your previous concerns about our aggressive tendencies. The delegate's skin rippled with what humans now recognize as amusement. Perhaps that is exactly why you are suited for this role. You understand the desire for independence, yet also know the importance of genuine protection over control. Professor Walker brought up data on the room's displays. We've already identified 3 developing civilizations in nearby systems, all showing promising signs of advancing technology. And how will humanity approach this responsibility? Another alien representative asked. Admiral Wells stood, walking to the window that showed both Earth's surface and the stars above. We'll watch over them, yes. We'll protect them from external threats. But we'll let them grow at their own pace, make their own choices, even their own mistakes. They need to find their own path. Commander Stone added, just like we did. The meeting continued, discussing the practical details of Earth's new role in the galaxy. But the bigger change was clear to everyone. Humanity had not just joined the galactic community, they had helped reform it. Later that evening, Admiral Wells returned to her office. A message waited from the deep space monitoring station that had first detected the alien presence a year ago. Bill Foster was still on duty there. Admiral, his recorded message played. Thought you'd want to know. We just picked up signals from one of the developing worlds. They've discovered their first alien artifact. Reminded me of where we were a year ago. Wells smiled, remembering that night that had changed everything. She opened a channel to respond. Keep monitoring, she instructed. But no interference. When they're ready to join us, they'll let us know, just like we did. She looked out at the night sky, where stars now held new meaning. Humanity had grown beyond its cradle, faced its greatest challenge, and emerged stronger than ever. They hadn't just won their place among the stars. They had changed the very nature of galactic civilization. The age of containment was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And humanity, once considered too dangerous to join galactic society, now stood as its conscience and protector. It was a new dawn, not just for Earth, but for every species that would follow in their footsteps toward the stars.